So I was just sitting here and I was just thinking, like, and earlier, like when I was outside, just thinking about, just some recent stuff that I went through. So I just wanted to share, just how I overcame it and just how it helped me keep peace of mind too in the middle of some chaotic stuff. So, like, I shared, like, online, like, the stuff that my family was doing to me, like as far as, like, with the magic and my inheritance and things like that. And so naturally, I was hurt, upset, and I'm like, in my head, all the little energies just swirling, just saying like different things, like, let it go. And then another one's like, get justice and things like that. So, I wrestled with my own thoughts on, what to do and how to process. So, of course, naturally, without even thinking, I did what was easier. I got upset, I got angry, and my anger got the best of me. But still, like, in my anger, while I was swirling in there, just like in my madness, I still didn't have the heart to do people the way that they did me. And so inside of my own madness, like when I went down the road of anger, I was able to just, like, halt the brakes and, just slow down a little bit and just say, like, this is not me. And then I just kind of got upset with myself. It's like, I've been so grounded, but just look how easily something like this just snatched me out of my peace. Because I was at peace. And then I'm just like, now that happened, and then now I was just out of balance now, and it was blindsided me, caught me off guard. So I just did what I felt was natural. So, and then, but like I was saying, like in the middle of like my anger, that chaos, and it was just like that, all of that power, and it was just like just knowing that you do have the power to destroy someone. And then it's just like knowing that you do, and then also it's like, but should you? And then I just like got to like the core of like, why are we really here? What did we come on this earth to do? Right. And I was like, I know for a fact I didn't come here to condemn. And then I just, just got to thinking again, like just from back from some of the things that I've said. And I'm just glad that I did post those videos back in the summer, because those words were still in the ether and it was still near me, and it came back into my being to remind me of who I am, right? And so just reminding me, like what I said, like there's nothing that you can do under the sun that cannot be forgiven. Then I said it again, like there is nothing under the sun that you can do that you cannot be forgiven from. So then I just had to, like, detach myself, unpersonalize it, and then also think of it like this, like, how do you explain this? Just like, like how reincarnation goes, right? So say like if you took it upon yourself to go get your fill or get your revenge, and you take someone out, right? You take their life. So to you, boom, you feel vindicated, like da 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 da. You think you solved the problem. However, unintentionally, you just, inadvertently just created a bigger problem, because you taking that person out, you took away their chance to find themselves, their chance to find their balance, and their chance to fulfill their life contract, right? And by doing that, think about angry, like, passing away with unforgiveness in your heart. Then think about on like reincarnation. That unforgiveness is going to come back again. It's going to go in a cycle now because it never got cleared, right? So now that added on another task for this life that they're going to have to come back with. And then that kind of makes me think of like in the Bible when it says like even the Jews and Gentiles alike were tricked by the same father of lies, right? So then I was just like, is that how it was tricked? Like, like we, I know about like reincarnation, but just keep recycling those unhealed souls. And then each time they come back, they're more confused because, once you go back through Saturn, you get wiped. But then, how much gets wiped? How much do you remember, right? How much like are you going to pull back and be able to unlock again? So that creates like another tunnel for healing that was that like not present before. You just created another variable in the equation now, right? Another line to get solved. And so I had to think of it like that, and then just take my heart out of the situation, and then again remind it like from the book of Matthew, where Jesus was like, who is my mother? When they was like, oh, Mary wants you, Jesus, or Mary or your brothers. He's like, who's my mother? Like, who are my brothers? Like, flesh and blood don't make us related. And that's, again, going into the reincarnation. Like, we choose to come into the family that we think that we're going to help. Because, like, when you leave this world, you get all your memories back and all this other stuff. You get everything back in its full effect, right? Once you go back to Babylon after you pass, right? The library, the judge, the courtroom, like that's where you go. Purgatory, the in between, right? Between life and death, right? So when you go back there, like you're like, okay, I did this wrong. I did this, but when I come back, I'm going to do this, right? But then you're not understanding as well. When you come back, you're still carrying trauma and trauma from the past. And so just thinking like, just kind of think before we try to take the next steps. Because like, and I'm glad that I had to experience that. And I'm like, just so grateful that it did catch me off guard, because like there were times like I doubt myself, like, if I do come into power, if I do come into money, like what type of person would I be? Look at my family, like money didn't turn them crooked, green as envy can be, right? Just would do anything for it, right? I mean, anything for it. And so I'm just like, we share the same genes, possibly, who knows for sure, right? But I'm like, would that be passed on to me? Like, and then I just start looking at them like, at what point? Because we all started off good at one point, and then it would have to been like, like some type of trauma, something traumatic to pull us out of our natural loving state, right? Something pulled us out of our peace at some point in our life, right? And it could have been from our parents with their unhealed trauma that they've inadvertently passed down to us. And, the environments that we've grown up in, things getting swept under the rugs and, stuff like that. But at some point, something happened to like each and every one of us to make us just go from the straight line to start detouring. But somehow we keep coming back to that line, to that awareness that, okay, but then if we don't have the, correct coping skills or mechanisms to help us, like a continuation of healing and just knowing, like, in being, we're going to keep repeating those same cycles. And then while I was in the middle of my anger, I was able to see that just so clearly. And then it just goes back to like what I was saying, to where how it helped me to just look at people. Because if you think about a karmic or, like somebody, just a negative person, they're here to teach you. And it may seem crazy, but like they say, God works in mysterious ways, right? So like karmics are really your tool, an extra tool that you may need, an extra push, somebody that to aggravate you, right? To push you to elevation, right? So like every disruption or every chaos isn't meant to just, something to put you down. There's a lesson in everything that we experience. There's a lesson in everything. And then after all those lessons is a test. And then if you pass your test, and the answer to every test is love. And I'll just tell you that cheat code. The answer to every test that we'll ever take on this world, this planet, this universe, anywhere in time, anywhere outside of time, around time, is love. And then that just goes to just saying, like, going to just show that most people still, like, following the Bible, like, cool. I'm not going to argue y'all about that again. But I just, like I said, like, God works in mysterious ways. And I'm able to see the Bible through the body, if that makes sense. And that's why, start making those type of videos, which I'm going to get back to it. But I'm just fascinated with the keyboard right now. and these chromosomes and covalent bonds and disulfides. Like I'm just, all of this stuff is just so exciting to me, but it's still within the body. So now I'm just at the bottom now, working our way back up. I started at the top, now we're at the bottom again, but we're gonna meet up in the middle again, possibly back at love. But then that's what I'm just saying, like we're no longer under the laws of Moses, right? We're under the law of love. And love, if you think about it, in whatever form, with whatever face, love can conquer anything and everything. Love can cool a heart, a hot heart, a hot head. You know, love is expressed silently, but love just is. Love is. And that's just a complete sentence. Love is. Love is. But I just wanted to share that because that kind of helped me just come back to my center. And then in that middle of chaos, that rage and fire, you know what I did? I raised that fire and I put that fire from hell. I let the hell meet my high waters, right? And the hell and the high waters came together within my body. I was able to say, I can forgive them. And I was able to unpersonalize this myself from it and still have mercy and still be able to turn around and pray for them, right? And it may sound crazy to some people, and like some people like, oh, I would have did this or I would have did that. Believe me, I thought about all of this stuff too, right? But then all of that, instead of acting, and I had the chance to do everything that I wanted to do. And then instead, I had like my sword in my hand, like in the spiritual, just ready. Like I could have done anything I wanted to do. But instead, I put my sword down and I said, no, we're all here to learn. And we have to all learn, because there were times where, you know, I felt like I was unworthy or just, you know, living in like what we consider sin and, you know, turning up, and God was still with me. Most High was still there and still saw the best in me, even when I didn't even see it in myself. Didn't even think it was possible to have good in myself, right? Just from all the reflections that was always reflected back at me. And then me not having the strength or this like the courage to just deflect back and say, no, that's not who I am. Right. But now I'm to that point to where I can say that now, and I can stand because like I said, I raised my hell to high water and it became a beautiful mirror, just light as a feather. Right. No thoughts of like nothing. It was just clearness, just stillness. It just was. I just can't really explain it. And it was just like just peace between like both of my energies. It was just complete peace. And I just felt like, you know, I've never reached that height before. Like I've had what I thought I known was peace, but this was just like just peace and just love and just like like this just feeling of just like overflow, and just like I just wanted to love and just hug everybody and just have sympathy for everybody, because again, we're all here to learn. And if we already knew everything, why are we still here? Why are we still completing the same cycles from 1700s, 1400s, since the beginning of the times? Because there's something within us that we're not seeing. Right? And that's again why we don't have to look outward, because when we look outward, all you're doing is just looking through a mirror, because all you have to do is close your eyes and look within yourself, and those are where the keys are. Excuse me. And like all the answers. And like I said, the answer to any test will be love. Love is to surrender, and love would do what love would do, right? But we don't have to put ourselves into the position to where we feel like we have to take it upon ourselves to get justice or make things right, just because we were either disrespected, vindicated, plotted on, or anything, right? Just think about the core again. Why are we here? To learn how to love. And that's all. Learn how to love ourselves, and then learn how to love each other. And that's all. And that's the biggest lesson, again, like a reminder that I had to learn, and then master that thought, master that feeling within myself. And then now when I think about, like, people doing stuff or, trying to send stuff to me, it does not concern me one bit, because my energies are connected to know that nothing's going to happen to me. I am protected. Anything trying to come in is just a distraction of fear to try to get me now out of my alpha state, out of my higher alignment that I've just reached, right? So I'm able to, again, look at people like playing the movies. So if somebody's trying to aggravate me, I just laugh. Like, this is bad acting. Like, nice try, but I see what you did. So if I acknowledge it and I call it out, that's all I have to do, is just get awareness of what took place. And then that's it. And that's all we have to do, is just have awareness and then just learn how to love.